a while. He knows Belichick. He knows the culture. This week, Jacoby Myers, a player, a wide receiver, and not a star, although he's a talented kid, came out and publicly criticized the organization. He said, I question what the plan is sometimes and how we're going to attack. And Matt Cassel, the former Patriot, said, because it's been strange watching these players go out publicly and criticize it. He goes, the Bill Belichick I know knew everything. The Bill I know would address it immediately, and yet it's allowed now. He said Bill Belichick has changed. And I thought about that this morning, and I thought, let's say he's got rings, legacy, and money. Of course it changes you. Same with Greg Popovich. Popovich and Belichick now only want to coach certain types of players, the kind they deem coachable. Rings, legacy, and money. It changes everybody. Look at LeBron James. To say the Lakers front office is shaky is almost a compliment. Signs an extension. You think years ago, 10 years ago, LeBron in his prime, before all the rings, the money, and the legacy, would have signed an extension with a second-tier front office? 2 words, hell no. But he's got his money. He's got his rings. He's got his legacy. Look at Michael Jordan at the end. Yeah, he played for the Wizards. It's kind of embarrassing, but he had all 3. Brett Favre played for the Jets. He had all 3. Belichick has changed. Of course he's changed. The culture's changed. Football's changed. But more than anything, Bill's changed. You lower your standards a little. You loosen up a little. You can see the end coming near. Players now publicly criticize the Patriots offense. Question it. Crickets. Years ago, Gronk stepped in front of a microphone after a game and was asked about a celebration. And one of the most outspoken, fun-loving players in league history, look at how nervous he was talking about it with the old Bill.
That was not planned or anything. And we got yelled at. We're not allowed to talk about celebrations. That's what we got told, but I kind of want to talk about it. But I kind of don't, because I'll get in trouble. So I don't know what to do.
Gronk's hysterical. The new Belichick, defensive coordinator, you go ahead and call plays. Young wide receiver, really unproven, go ahead and criticize us. Legacy, rings, money. Of course Belichick's changed. Great stuff today. Peter King, 50 minutes from now, Greg Cassel. Always fun. It's a Thursday. 2000, 2008, 2022. When it comes to the economy, those are bad years, right? .com crash, housing crash, from near dynasty to done in a couple of years. Why? My theory's always been they had no hierarchy. And so Richard Sherman, who's a fantastic player and broadcaster, KJ Wright, were on a podcast and at my company, The Volume. Okay, they're a little credit, props, whatever. And they were talking about Russell Wilson didn't have to play by the same rules when they were all together and young in Seattle and winning.
Early on, we talked about accountability. He was not held to the same accountability as the rest of us. That's just facts. You bashing the defense. I need you to at least mention his name in the team meeting room. Can I at least get that? When you talk about accountability in the early years, no. As he grew, as he got older, Coach Carroll did do a better job in addressing things. Hey, Russ, you threw this amount of picks. You got to get better.
But there wasn't enough years difference, for the accountability thing to be like that. That's what I tell people. They're like, well, he was young. It's like, well, again, he was a year younger than us. Like, he ain't that young, kid. It ain't no baby.
Why did Seattle's near dynasty blow up? As Pat Riley calls it, the disease of me. So Pete Carroll's been fired twice before Seattle and had a losing record before Russell got there. So he wanted some credit when they started winning. This is his last chance at a job. Pete wanted some credit. The young defensive players, Richard Sherman, other players, a lot of them were lower round draft picks who made no money during the Legion of Boom years. And they want to make sure they get paid too. Don't blame them. And Russell Wilson had been replaced in college as a starting quarterback. Overlooked, drafted in the 3rd round. He wanted credit too. All of them have agents. Coaches have agents. Players have agents. All wanted a piece of the financial pie and the credit pie. Credit, credit, credit. The disease of me. It's not a criticism. It's a reality with men, especially willful men, aspirational men, athletic men, political men, corporate men. All eventually did get their money, but there was no clear hierarchy. So why did the Patriots in New England, the Spurs in San Antonio, and Golden State, why do those last 10, 20 years? Warriors is still going. Because you have a clear hierarchy. Brady, Duncan, Steph, the man, and everybody knows it. I keep my ego in check. I take a pay cut. You sure as hell are. When they win, those guys get a majority of the credit. Then the really good players get some, rotational players less. But there's a hierarchy to it. But when the things blow up, when the fit hits the shan on those teams, you also know who to point to. Seattle, when they won the Super Bowl, everybody wanted a little credit. The twice-fired coach, the lower drafted defensive players who wanted to get paid, Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson. Everybody was grabbing for credit, but when they hit crisis and lost the second Super Bowl, nobody wanted to hear it, right? Like everybody's like, "Hey, want me? I'm not the man here. He's the man. Russell's the man. Pete's the man." I'm not blaming people. What I am saying is this rant is about hierarchy. I don't want a king and a queen in our country, right? We don't need to be England. Hierarchy in sports, politics, and the corporate ladder is really important. It creates clarity. It creates order. And Seattle was never built to be a dynasty. A twice-fired coach, an overlooked quarterback, lower drafted defensive players. Russell wasn't good enough early to be that. Pete had been fired twice. He hadn't proven he could win without a really good quarterback. And the defensive guys went to places like Utah State and Stanford and lower round draft picks. They were great, but were we ready to anoint them Myles Garrett status, TJ Watt status, Von Miller status? We weren't. And so there is some value, huge value to order and hierarchy. And I know a lot of young people don't want to hear it at work. But the corporate ladder works everywhere, all the time. Yes, it fails. But in times of crisis, you know who to blame and you know who to look to. And Seattle never did. It's why they went from near dynasty to done virtually overnight. So I saw this story. Matt Cassel lives just down the road here. He played for the Patriots. And